Hi, Mark here from the Tangent-Bound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangent-Bound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangent-Bound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangentBoundNetwork.com and see if Tangent-Bound Network is right for you.
We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind, so if you feel you do need help, please reach out and get the help you need. We have a whole list of things on our files page over on Facebook at facebook.com/crazylifepodcast, and or just search on the internet for the suicide prevention hotline number, or go to NAMI.org or whatever resource you can find. But just please reach out for help if you need it. If you feel as though you're going to harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. And try not to be alone. Also, if you feel that way and you realize that you're writing a note or making plans of how you would do, like harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. That's a huge red flag. And lastly, please do not replace the idea of therapy with listening to this show. Again, if you need help, please reach out and get the help that you need, or contact us. We can try to help you find the help that you need.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time, stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to The Crazy Life, everyone. My name is Jen. I am your hostess for the evening. And with me, as always, we have Brian and Henno. Hey, guys.
Ahoy.
Hello.
That goes out to my friend Kiki.
Aww.
She always says hello in this group with ahoy, and it just makes me freaking laugh because I'm always like, the pirate's back. There's like no reason for it. It's just to be goofy, and it just makes me laugh.
Nice. It reminds me of Mr. Burns always saying ahoy hoy on The Simpsons when he answers the phone, because that was apparently the old timey way of answering the phone. So
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm going to mix things up this week, and I'm going to start us off. Usually I don't do that unless I have to.
Right.
So. Actually, I am experiencing a lot of heightened anxiety this week. And I'm not 100% sure why. I think a lot of it just has to do with there's a lot of change happening right now.
I was going to guess because baseball's starting up soon.
Yes, I'm very anxious for baseball. No, for those of you who don't know, I am not actually a baseball fan.
Yeah.
Not by a long shot. I can watch it in person, but that's about it. No, there's a lot of, I'm just very sensitive to other people's feelings, and there's just been a lot of upheaval, just a lot of negativity and just a lot of stuff that's surrounding me, and I'm having a hard time kind of clearing my mind and centering myself. So it's just been very, very difficult the last few days or so, and I have a feeling it's probably not going to let up for any time soon, unfortunately. So I've taken to doing my breathing exercises more frequently. So I'm doing box breathing, and I am, of course, wiggling the toes, and doing mantras and repeating mantras whenever I might catch myself going too far one way or another. Gratitude list. I haven't written one down, but I start one in my head as soon as I start getting too far one way or another. So I've been really relying on my tool chest to kind of work through stuff. The other aspect of it is, and I wanted to bring this up because it really made an impact on me, made me kind of rethink things a little bit. So I wanted to mention it. I talked to the guys before the show, so I gave them a little heads up about what was going on. But I am starting a new workout regime, and today was I started Monday, so I got Monday, I went Tuesday, and then today I'm like, I'm not feeling all the way up to it. And I was talking with a friend of mine, and he told me, and he's like, well, he has to go to the gym. I said, yeah, I haven't gone to the gym yet. I really should go. He's like, then go. I'm like, yeah, but then I have to take another shower. I already showered today. He's like, it's not illegal to take 2 showers. I'm like, yeah, but then I got to do my hair and stuff. He's like, you're coming home and going to bed. Why do you have to do your hair? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. So I ended up going to the gym. And of course I feel better afterwards, because I always feel better after I go to the gym. And it really made me stop and think about a true friend. And not to say there's anything wrong with a friend saying, you deserve a break. Don't worry about it. Take time off. There's nothing wrong with that. That's actually a very nice, supportive thing to say. You're trying to support your friend's mental health and where they're at in their life and everything. But the other one is also really, really great to challenge your friends and to kind of push them to better themselves, is also a really great response. And it just made me stop and think about, maybe I should be pushing, because I'm so easygoing. Maybe it's time for me to push back a little bit myself. And maybe that is giving true friendship to someone, to challenge them a little bit. Obviously, you're not going to be, brutal and in their face and mean about things. But a little challenge, a little push in the right direction is definitely a good way to be a good friend. So just thought that kind of made an impact on me, so I wanted to mention that. Trying to think what else. As far as actually events, it's tough because with everything being closed down, I'm not doing much of anything.
Yeah, exactly. That's what, like Tony and I are finding that, we start Salty Language every week, and it used to be a how was your week thing, and we've kind of evolved it a little bit past that now, because it's like most of the time our answer is going to be, I went to the grocery store, I sat at home, because that's basically what you're doing right now, so yeah.
I'm reading a lot of books.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, my social media has actually gone down.
Right.
Because I know. My social media time is actually going down. It's interesting because I always thought I was really fluid and easy to go move with change. And during this the COVID stuff and all the different changes that are happening, I'm starting to realize I'm not as fluid as I think I am.
That's so true.
Wait, you're saying you're human? Resistant to change?
So true.
Yes. So the whole resistance to change thing, I'm like, I kind of hate change.
Yeah.
You
Isn't
know,
that funny?
it really is. I'm like, I'm really hating the change. I'm hating change in general, and especially hating the change in relationships and social relationships, and not just romantic relationships, but even friendships and co-work relationships and stuff. A lot of them are being affected by the COVID and by the isolations, you don't have the face-and-face time that you used to have and stuff. So in all the cute, kitschy things that we were doing to try to stay in touch, like Zoom and all this other stuff, it's gotten kind of old. Yeah. And I think we're starting to isolate inside of ourselves even more than ever before.
Yeah.
And at least I can speak for myself and say that I know I am, that I'm not the same person I was at the beginning of all this. And I don't like that. I want it all to be the same. I don't want things to change. I don't want relationships to grow and develop. And no. Let's stay the same. The beginning, when everything's fresh and new and wonderful and fun. Let's stay there.
That's great.
Right?
But just my 2 cents on the whole piece of craziness that's going on. So,
no, I think that's a really good point, though, about things. You're right, is for a long time, all I saw on Twitter and Facebook was, hey, we're doing a Zoom this weekend, or we're blah, blah, whatever. Yeah. And those things have, there's still a lot out there where people are doing them, or there's a lot of trivia groups and stuff and whatever. But I've noticed a whole lot less of it as time's gone on here. Because you're right, the newness has worn off of it, and, people just have moved to other things.
Yeah. Honestly, if you look at social media, I honestly think the numbers spiked, that they went up really high, and I think they're on their way down. Because if you, like, the people that I like to follow and stuff, they're starting to either take Twitter breaks or they're not posting as much.
Yeah.
I'll go days without posting, and that's not usual for me, but I do. I'll go days without posting.
Yeah, I rarely post on. I've barely posted on Twitter over the last few months. I've retweeted things because I've basically switched to where instead of writing or posting, whatever it was I was posting before, I've used it more as a way of trying to, however you want to look at it, signal boost things I feel are more important right now. And that's part of it too, is like you said, there's a lot of people that have stepped away from Twitter. There's a lot of, there's a lot of toxicity that's really been springing up on Twitter, whether it's about politics or coronavirus or just, Twitter garbage in general. There seems to be
attacking each other.
Yeah, there seems to be a big wave of it right now, to where quite a few people I know of are like, I don't even go on timelines very much. I pretty much I jump in a few rooms that I'm in, and I'm pretty much done with Twitter. Like I've spent very little time on Twitter recently, unless I'm talking, in a room that I'm in or something. Otherwise, I just haven't bothered. And honestly, 2 of the rooms I'm in that were both pretty active have basically died over the last couple months.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Rooms in general are starting to die out, and I don't know I'm not really sure quite what it is that's causing the whole thing. Yeah. I mean, it could just be general change, you know?
I think a lot of it too has to do with the fact that there's a lot of people who are spending tons of time at work on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And since they're not at work, they're not using social media as much, like they're home. So if they have kids and the kids are home, they're doing things with their kids, or, you know, or working from home, and then they're kind of probably half watching TV or other stuff in the meantime. You know, there's other distractions.
Mhm.
So I think there is a big element of that as well, you know.
That's true. You know, so it's just, there's a variety of things that are affecting it, I'm sure, but
Uh-huh.
it's just things that I've observed, and even with myself, you know, that I just don't have. I think the other part is I'm not doing anything, so I don't have as much to say.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I don't have as many experiences that I want to share.
Mhm.
So, you know, that's also a big part of it. You know, it's just different. And
Yeah.
it's not necessarily different. It's not bad.
Right.
It's just different.
I keep
But
keep
it's
having
unusual.
Brian Regan just keeps going through my head.
Yeah.
He's got a bit that it's a line he says, it's not what I'm used to, and it's, you know,
Yes.
somebody getting mad at change kind of a thing, and it's one that's stuck out to me, especially as you get older. You feel it more and more, you know, because we get more stuck in our ways as we age, and, you know, a lot of ways. So
Mhm.
yeah, whenever something like that happens, that's the first thing that pops in my head, is whenever somebody talks about change and that they don't like it or whatever. It's the first thing that jumps in my head. I was at Wendy's today, and they changed one of their, like, menu things, and it jumped right into my head there, because I was kind of like, man, you know, because it was something I used to get occasionally, you know. So, and then I was just laughing because, you know, once again, first of all, first world problem. Oh no, the fast food place I go to doesn't have the exact menu item I want anymore, or whatever, you know.
Right.
You know, but, and then also it's a, you know, so get something else, you know, like, but I don't want to.
That's what I wanted.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of funny how, like I said, that jumps in my head so often, because it's such a good line, you know, and so true about how a lot of us act without realizing it. That even though we may be saying something else, that ends up being what it is. It's not what I'm used to.
Yeah. It is what it is. But I guess that's my week. You know, nothing too crazy, nothing too outstanding. Just a good solid week. We're trying to work on keeping my head level and above the waters.
Yep. Good enough.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
All right, who's next?
That's what I've told different people as I've talked to them, and they're, you know, like, hey, how are you doing? And they're like, you know, I'm living, but it's like, good enough, you know, like on any given day, if that's your answer to me, I'm all right, good enough. Anything I can do to improve it? If not, well, you know, at least you're not sinking, you know. So it's like we said before, you know, sometimes just not existing. That's not the word I'm looking for, but you know, just coasting kind of is, you know, you're like, hey, whatever. At least it's not moving backwards or whatever, or, you know, or it's not a bad day, you know, and that's good enough. Like, that can just be your win, is it wasn't a bad day. Like, that's good enough. You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I went and donated blood today, and which I told Jen and Henno about this earlier already, but it was a little surreal, because it took longer this time, because there's a whole lot more things that, you know, you just have to take a little more time. You know, like after I answered some of the questions and I left the room I was in, the woman's like, I'll be right out. I have to wipe down, you know, all the stuff real quick first, you know, and then we proceed to the next step, and these kind of things. And it was like, you know, there's just things in life where, you know, you get that good reminder sometimes that, and this is kind of funny, that really what you need is patience, and you just need to, you know, things are just going to take the time they take, and that's okay, you know. And the reason I said it was kind of funny was a few days ago, it was Chris Cornell's birthday, and his family posted a cover he did of Guns N' Roses' Patience. And it was just kind of funny to me, because when I saw it and what the song was, and I listened to it, and I was like, I was like, yeah, I was like, I kind of needed that reminder that really is just, even though that's about like a developing love or whatever situation, but it's still the message of really that is, kind of what we need sometimes is just a little patience and, and man, I'll tell you a complete side note, but I haven't listened to anything in a while like Chris Cornell's done, but man, it felt good to hear his voice again. It was like this something I hadn't heard before. It was just like, that was awesome. It's like, I love that. I kind of hope I'd love for there to be more music in the trove that occasionally like this, his family is just like, hey, we got this, here you go. Here's a little taste, just, or whatever. Not these are a bunch of cutting room floor garbage songs that we're going to release as an album or something, but just like, hey, we've got a couple cool things that we just, just can put out once in a while.
Mhm.
But yeah, that went fine today. It's always funny, like when you give blood and afterwards, they keep asking you if you're okay. And but the last 2 times I've given blood, it was like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, I don't feel any different generally. What was weird was we got done, we went and ate. I got home. I was home for about an hour or so. And then I started feeling a little weird. And not lightheaded, but I don't know how to describe it. I was just off. Like, just didn't, it's like, I got to sit down for a little bit. Like, I just felt really weird, So, and I'm feeling better now. I imagine, like last time I felt okay most of the day I gave, but the day after, I kind of just laid around all day. Like and by the end of the day I felt fine. And then, from there on I was fine. So I'm pretty much just kind of expecting that tomorrow and we'll just see, how it goes. But I want to put this out there to anyone. If you can give blood, please go do so. I went to the Red Cross's location here and they had everybody spaced out really well. There's hand sanitizer everywhere in there. It's really weird seeing hand sanitizer with a big Anheuser-Busch logo on it, though. I'll say that. yeah. It was kind of weird.
That's awesome.
And but anyway, like I said, they distanced us really well. They wiped everything down as soon as we were done touching it, basically. So it's like, as far as I can see, it's like, man, they're trying and doing everything they can possibly do. So, and there is there's always a blood shortage, but right now a lot of people have quit giving blood because they haven't wanted to go to these things and whatever. So, if you can't give blood, please do, especially if you're like me and you're, like O positive or whatever, because, our blood can really help, like trauma situations where they don't have time to, they just have to give a person blood to keep them alive, kind of a thing. So, please donate and help out if you can. So yeah, that was, pretty good. It was weird though, because, I barely slept last night. My anxiety just wouldn't stop. I've done this before. I know it's no big deal. I'm fine with needles. Like I watched her put the needle in my arm today. Like it wasn't, I have zero issues with them. But it's still funny how even though my brain knows all of these things, I'm still anxious about it. Because there is always a chance of not so much something going wrong, but my veins don't like to necessarily show up. They get shy sometimes, and and I know there is that fear in the back of my head that you never know when you're going to get somebody and they poke you like 20 times or whatever. I'm exaggerating, of course, but I have in the past for blood what do you call it, for like blood work or whatever, where they do a blood draw there, where I've had, I've been poked like 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, and it's like, okay, can we not? Like I'm fine with needles, but there's still a point where you're like, okay, this isn't working. Like, can we stop? So, but it wasn't, the woman who helped me out, was going to do my right arm, but couldn't find a good vein there. So she switched to the left arm, found a pretty good one, and, lickety split, and it was, and we were good to go. So it was, and everything went fine, like I said. And afterwards, I was like, I ate some Chips Ahoy cookies, and
Yes.
and had a water, even though they had juice boxes there. And I'm not going to lie, I was pretty tempted to go for a juice box, but decided not to. Because I hadn't had a lot of water today, which is a mistake anyway. But so I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna try to start hydrating myself more so here with just plain water. But yeah, it's like that's the best part of the whole thing is you get to, they have
snackies.
Yeah, there's just like a table of goodies over there. I mean, they had like Nature Valley bars, but I'm like, what are these even doing here? Like, what's going on here? Like, I'm sorry, but you give blood, you should be able to eat, candy, cookies, whatever the heck you want to eat like that. Like, forget this, granola bar nonsense.
They have gummy snacks where I'm at.
Yeah, they didn't.
Where I go give blood.
They didn't hear when I gave last time when they were doing the drive at a church. They had gummy snacks there because as soon as I saw them, I'm like, oh yeah, or fruit snacks, not gum, So.
Yeah, the little fruit snacks. That's what they have where I give.
Yeah.
Usually they come to my work and stuff, but I get a juice box and little fruit snacks.
That's right. It's like, do you have a carpet square? If so, we're all set here. I'm good for a little bit.
I'm good. I'm good for the afternoon.
Yeah. So yeah, it was nice. It was funny as I was leaving. There was a guy coming in, and this dude's like, like he looks like he's built kind of like a linebacker, like 6'3", 230, 240 probably, just solid built dude. And it was his first time giving blood, and you could tell he was a little worried, and his wife was sitting over in the like lounge area, and the woman who was gonna like right before, she's getting everything ready. And she goes, do you want me to go get your wife to hold your hand while you're doing this? And he lost it. And I think that right there, boom, from that point on, he was golden. She was like, you feel a little poke, blah, blah, and he was great. And it was like, I don't think he was afraid. I think he was just kind of like, because until you go through it once, you're like, I don't know what's going to happen. How's this going to feel? Because they're just draining you, but you don't feel it when you just give blood,
I've got to be careful because it bothers me if it gets in my head, the feeling of the warm tube taped to my arm.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, I could see where that could be weird for somebody.
Gets to me if I'm not careful, I kind of have to like make sure I don't focus on that.
Oh right,
because otherwise that'll bother me. But.
Yeah, but it was just kind of funny because I was not directly next to him or anything because again distancing. I was a few down, but we kind of a couple times like I looked over at him and. The one time I was like, you doing okay? And he thumbs up, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was cool, and I was like awesome because, his wife, I guess, she always gives blood and he basically was like, normally when she goes, he's working, but he's furloughed or whatever at the moment. So he was able to go. So I was like, well, cool. That's, awesome that somebody else is doing it for the first time. So yeah. Like I said, it's really no big deal for the most part, especially if you're a person like me that has no issues with any of this stuff. Blood doesn't bother me. Needles don't bother me. The people were super nice and we were kidding around. So, that all helps. I'm sure if you went and the person was very like stern and about it, it would be like, this stinks.
Yeah. Give you more anxiety.
Yeah. But they were awesome.
And you can always ask for somebody else.
Yeah.
So don't ever think that you can't.
Yeah.
Just because you're volunteering and stuff, whatever, doesn't matter. You're there. They're there to help you. So if it's not working between you and the nurse that you're talking with, ask to talk to somebody else.
Have you ever went to, and this doesn't matter what the occupation is, but have you ever gone into a place and you can feel a difference when one of the employees is around, like all the other employees kind of like, and it doesn't have to be a boss, but that'd be the easiest one maybe to understand is, oh, the boss is here. We all got to behave, and then as soon as they leave, everybody's back to going crazy. That's the way it was. There was a woman who was an older nurse walking around, and when she got near different ones, I noticed you could just feel the whole room kind of clench up a little bit when she was around, and then when she went back into like this office or whatever, all of a sudden it was back to good times. So I don't know what the story is there, but you could feel a little tension. It's like either they don't like her or maybe that is the boss, and maybe, but even still, I was like, they're just having fun with their jobs, and given what's going on in the world and everything, it's like, man, plus that's the way to do that job anyway, is, because it makes you so much more relaxed, because like me, I said my anxiety was up, but I'm sitting there and we're cracking jokes and whatever, and I'm feeling fine, and like, anyway, it's like once the needle's in my arm, I'm like, yeah, whatever, she kept going, you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, like I told her, I was like, I'm good. Because it was funny, I'm looking at my arm right as she's bringing the needle over, and she's like, okay, this is the part that blah, and I was like, okay. And I told her, I was like, it won't bother me. I said, I'll watch you do it. I said, it doesn't bother me. So the funniest part, I have my phone, like she no more got everything hooked up, and she walks away, right? I got my phone in my right hand, and I went to do something, and when I did, I hit my phone, on my chest a little bit, and when I did, it just flung right out of my hand onto the floor.
Oh no.
And I'm like, oh no.
How am I supposed to entertain myself?
And I didn't catch her name, and I'm like, I don't want to be like, hey you, like
Yeah, that's so funny.
Just start snapping. They
So-
love that
oh
when you
yeah,
do
I'm
that.
sure. But she happened to be walking back by, and I was like, excuse me, and she goes, yeah. I was like, can you get my phone? I was like, I apparently just winged it on the floor for no reason. I was like, apparently I'm like a toddler, So, yeah. Luckily it landed flat on the back, so it was,
Mhm.
on the case. But it was just like I said, I barely moved it, and it hit, and it just slid, and I'm like, oh.
God, Panda.
Yeah. Well, because, you're sitting up high on those tables. You're a few feet off
Yeah.
the floor. It's like, I can't reach it, and it's to my left, so I can't move because they got all the stuff taped and whatever to you. So, I'm like, well. But anyways, yeah, so whatever. Anyways, it was always, it's been nothing but positive the times I've gone. So hopefully, that continues. It was funny though, because she's like, okay, the next date you can donate is on September 16th, and she's like, you want me to write that down? I'm like, nah, I think I'll remember that. I was like, it's my birthday, and she goes, oh, is it? And I was like, yeah. I was like, well, at least I hope I remember that, But yeah, so I'll probably be given again in September. So it's. Like my brother's like, are they going to throw you a party? I'm like, yeah, they'll be like, help yourself to a treat and we'll water. Yeah. So,
Yeah, free juice boxes
Yeah.
and cookies
Heck
for
yeah.
everyone.
I'm going to tell
Yay.
everybody I know, like, hey, let's all go give blood together. They're providing the snacks. I'm all set. Just bring presents for me and I'm good. Yeah. This is smart.
Yeah,
I like
exactly.
this plan.
You're good.
If I had a lot of people that gave me presents, and coronavirus wasn't around, but it was like I would totally do something like that. Be like, in lieu of giving me anything, let's go give blood. Let's go give a bunch of blood to them.
And you have to bring stickers to me to prove that you did it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what happened to my sticker. I had it because I posted a picture on Instagram with my sticker, but it must have fallen out of my pocket when I was getting my phone or something because I can't find it now. So. And I didn't get a medal this time. Last time I got a medal.
You get a medal?
Yeah. It was on a thing hanging around my neck. Yeah. This time I didn't get a medal. I just got a sticker this time. Last time I didn't get a sticker, though. So.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So. I was going to grab up by the door. They had stickers that say, like, please be nice to me. I gave blood today or something like that. But there was two people standing there, and I didn't want to be all like, up in their business. So I just was like, well, next time. Because that's the move. No. It was funny, though. It's a couple places we went afterward, because, like, here, they wrap your arm in, like, a red tape. Like that fabric tape kind of stuff.
You don't get your choice?
No, they just used red.
Oh, boo.
I'm not. Red's the color I'd probably pick anyway. But
I was always, give me pink.
oh, yeah, well, fair enough. Yeah. So, I had people like, what'd you do with your arm? I'm like, oh, I gave blood. So, yeah. Yeah, my doctor's office, they use purple. Like, that's the only color they have. So a lot of times after I have blood work done there, I'll have purple tape wrapped around my arm because regular tape will not stick to me because I'm a sweaty gentleman. So they literally have to wrap the tape around my arm to keep the Band-Aid on it. So, yeah. Anyway, enough about all that. It's interesting this week. I had something similar to you, Jen, in the... not the social media stuff or whatever, but it's like, when all this started, the fact that I'm not a real, like, want to go and do a lot kind of person, I was kind of like, okay, I'm built for this. Like, I'll be fine. But the thing is, the problem has become that as we see numbers rise and people's behaviors and different stuff, the fact that it is so confirming what my brain has been telling me that for years and years and years has been distorted. Because yes, there is danger out there, but generally you're safe and you'll be okay,
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like I keep seeing these numbers and like I said and stuff, the way people are behaving about certain things and stuff, and it's like it's making me paranoid. Is what it's doing. It's feeding into that what was distorted now is less distorted, but also still just as distorted, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because the risk is higher now, but it's also distorted because there's a level of that I recognize as paranoia. Like I'm adding
Mm-hmm.
to what is reasonable, so that is still distorted. And I'm noticing it getting worse. And, I gotta, still need to get to therapy and whatever to talk with my therapist about this, but it's harder for me to do this stuff. Like even when I am out, I'm really starting to feel the, I want to go home thing popping in, and I've had that for years anyway. But like today we were out and, my brother wanted to go to a Goodwill that was right there. And then we got food. And then he was like, oh, I want to go to, and I'm like, I want to go home. And it was not even a kind of a, like, oh, I'll push through it. It was, no, I need to go home now. I don't want to go anywhere else. I don't, all I want to do is get to my safe place, basically. So, it's something for me to work on. But at the same time, it's really hard to work on it because generally the way you work on this kind of thing is essentially exposure therapy. And it's not necessarily the best idea right now.
Yeah.
So I have to talk with my therapist, like I said, maybe even find some other tools to use in the meantime, until those things are a little more accessible and safer. So yeah, so that's been my week basically, and obviously my win is I gave blood. I'm gonna keep bragging about it. I don't care. So that's that's my win for the week.
Yeah.
So
I'm totes jelly of your blood giving because it's something that I used to do all the time, and it's just not easy for me to do it up here. They have limited opportunities, and when it does, I need to just get onto like a mailing list and find out where they are and when it is and just, take the time off of work and do it.
Yeah. If for anyone listening, if it's the Red Cross, they have an app and you can search for local stuff, make your appointments, all the other stuff. Let me see if it'll pull up here real quick. It's called, I think it's just called Blood Donor. Or if you just type in Red Cross app, I'm sure you can find it. So yeah, and I've got that on my phone. And also when you get your, you can track through the app, kind of like obviously they don't give you exact details on who your blood could have helped, but it will be like part of your blood went to this area to help help a person or whatever. So you can see that too, which is, whatever.
I like that stuff.
That's kind of cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Anyway, sorry, Henry.
So, no problem. I had a gig last night and there were so many people there. But it was cool because you could just tell people wanted to be out.
Yeah.
People wanted to hear live music.
Mhm.
There were so many people that just stopped by and just stood on the sidewalk and just listened. It was the best venue, or one of the better venues to do a show. They already have an outdoor seating area. They basically had it set up like they always had it. They've always had distance between, and they have big tables so families can sit there. And it was amazing. One family would get up, another one would sit right down.
Wow.
And they were doing their protocols, and you just tell the hotel had their stuff down. It's one of the few places that's investing in local live music, and
it really does make you
good.
feel better, doesn't it? Like when you go into a place like that and you're like, you feel like they're doing all they can.
Yes.
Like
yeah.
I was saying, like going into the Red Cross today versus some other places I've been in where I'm like, was like today, it was like they really are trying to do every little thing that they can do to make it as safe as possible. It really does help the feeling of going there.
Yeah, it did. And evidently I found out today that that hotel ended up being pretty much the baseline model for hotels throughout our state. That their protocol that they developed, just like the health club that's on our property. They also, there's the people that got the message to our state government, had what the hotel was doing and what our health club was doing, and those two ended up being the standard and allowed them to open up sooner than originally anticipated, which was cool.
Nice.
And you could just tell they just had their it was weird to walk in because everything was different, and it's like, okay, oh wow, yeah, I see what they're doing here. You see the changes, and it's like, okay, I'm with the program, and just a lot of it just came down to communicating. Like, okay, so where are we doing the bathroom now? Where's this? How about waters? Blah blah blah. But it was a good
kind of weird at the Red Cross today, because when it got done, I was like, I was like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom, and then I'm like, do you guys have a bathroom that's okay to use it, or to the public? And she goes, oh yeah, it's right over there. And I was like, well, I'm used to. There's a lot of places that have closed off their bathrooms right now. So I'm like it's a weird scenario. And like you said, it's like, okay, so what's the bathroom situation now? Like, are we going inside? Are we doing,
Mm-hmm.
And they just basically made one for employees and the other one's a public one. And that makes it simpler. You don't have to clean one.
Yeah.
You can just stay on that one. And, they had more, it's one of those places where they actually give you cloth towels to use.
Oh, wow.
Right. But they actually now they put paper out.
Sure.
Because most places are completely touchless, but, touchless drying is a different thing. There's so many different options.
Right.
Yeah. So, it was good to do it. It was kind of a bummer. That's our only scheduled gig for the year, which is kind of sad, but it's tough when you have multiple people in a group and, they all have kids and kids have things in the summertime.
Right.
And should have my home refinance stuff kind of coming together this week.
Nice.
I found out that the appraisal is going to be here in a day or so. And I had a weird email from my loan agent who said it was a fraud alert about an REO, which is real estate, but it was my parents' address.
Oh, really?
And I think this happened before and I just had forgotten about it, but it wasn't labeled as a fraud alert, that it just popped up. And what it probably is because now it's in a trust. And so I would be listed as a beneficiary on the trust.
Yeah.
And my social security number would be associated with it.
Right.
So the underwriters would see anything associated with my social security number must be. And it makes sense because they're looking for all potential liabilities.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I could see how it'd be a fraud thing because they're like, okay, why are you associated with this property?
Yeah.
And it's great. I got to basically say, it's my parents' home. It's in a trust. I know nothing about it.
Right.
I was not involved with the creation of it. I have no
Right.
I have plausible deniability for this one.
Right.
That just really made me think about. It's like that's what they're also looking at. It's like, okay, yeah, you may have a potential windfall someday.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting.
Right.
But other than that, it's just been the usual. As fun listening to you guys in with respect to the idea of it's good to have things be just okay, because the alternative is things could be really bad.
Right.
True.
We have so much stress, and so like just okay is good right now. The ideas of routine. I have a new routine. I don't think I necessarily like it, but I'm in a routine, which I don't know if that makes sense. If it doesn't feel wrong to me, my routine. I'm just doing some things differently than I ordinarily would, and I'm trying not to feel guilty about anything. It's been from the beginning with this, and so it's interesting to hear the similar kind of things come up. I just like these ideas of the way you like. There's just nothing better than this. Like I always thought I was good with change, but I'm not.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's so true. But I feel like a lot more in the moment, if that makes sense. It's weird to be sitting here. I think you've talked about this a lot, Brian, about when you're not very social to begin with, when you tend to isolate a lot, and now you really need to do it. And like it kind of really made me kind of take stock of my life in some ways. What are my social things? What are important? What is important to me?
Yeah.
Because I'm having a lot of conversations with Sharon about that too, with what's our future going to be. We have some opportunities here with taking care of debt and that kind of thing. It's like, what do we want to do? And I'm looking at really what's important to me. I actually had this was kind of a win for me this week. It was kind of a breakthrough. I tend to do too much retail therapy, and I definitely have grass is greener syndrome, especially when it comes to like just stuff. And it was fun. Like every place I looked at where there was something where I'm like, okay, I need to upgrade this. Nope, you don't. I need to upgrade this. Nope, you don't. Well, what about this? Nope, you don't need that. How about this? I love this. This is working for me. And it was cool to just suddenly be like, nope, don't need to think about that. Nope, no need to think about this. Nope, no need to think about this. Okay, where does this come from? Like I never saw this in my parents, ever. I never seen it in this acquisition of stuff. Like I've seriously like maybe I should go see my therapist again. Because there's a fundamental thing here.
Yeah.
It does cause problems.
Oh, sure.
Primarily financial. But,
right. But also at a certain spot, well, you've mentioned on here before about how you sometimes like just having stuff bothers Sharon,
Oh, yeah.
So, so it can cause you issues there as well. Not just like you said, a financial, like when you get the bill for stuff or whatever.
Like the benefits of like getting rid of things is huge. So I actually started a little bit more where I was like, you know what? I don't need this. Why do I have this? And it's I go through this all the time. I bring it up all the time on here, but I'm in another one of those phases and it feels different this time.
Yeah.
Like so where this all ties together in that my routine changed and I think it's going to be for the better. It's allowed me to focus more on really what is important to me right now. And that's not a bad thing. And what do I really need versus what I want? And those are places I struggle with all the time. So that's been kind of like a little bit of a win this week, and I need to refine it. Like right now is not the time. I have some things coming up, but the band won't be doing anything for a while, so that I'll have some time to kind of drill down into this. And I had a project last week where I'm helping a friend out with music for their podcast. They just needed background music that wasn't, licensed or anything.
Yeah.
And I have so much music and stuff that are already being used on podcasts where I'm like, but I can just take the lyrics out of it and just have the background music. And so I did that last week, but it got me back into old things I'd worked on and just forgot about. And it was really fun. It was like this dive into a memory lane. It's weird. It's like, I'm not a writer, so I don't have like a writer can pick up like their journals and read, where they were. I was doing it musically because I'd open something up and be like, what is this? I'd look what the date was. I was like, okay, I was living here.
Yeah.
It was a neat thing. But the big news for me, and it's going to be kind of our topic for tonight, is what happened at my work this week was unbelievable. I shared a little bit about my anxiety last week, and worry, I guess, is a better term. I honestly, I do have anxiety when I get to work, and a lot of it has to do. And I have talked about my boss a lot on this podcast, and there's nothing that I wouldn't say to him directly. Yeah. Because there's that part. It's like, okay, well, what if he listened? And it's like, you know what? I would have the same conversation up front with him no matter what. And this is the place where I get to, let some of this stuff go and be the best I can at work. And I try to have compassion and not be in judgment. But it's hard sometimes when you see other people. It's not just because it's not just me. It's when other people are experiencing difficulties and anxiety at work too. And there's nothing I can do about it. Mm-hmm. At least, at the way things have been, I just don't know what I could have done. However, this week was one of the most amazing things that happened, and it was just a conversation about mental health.
That's awesome.
It was my boss telling me what was going on, first person, right there.
Yeah. What
he was experiencing. The side effects of coming off of medication, and what it was, the difficulties, and what he was trying to do. And I was just like this light shine down.
Yeah,
it's huge. It's huge.
Yeah,
I didn't realize what plays into that, and it's everything we talk about, like the stigma and fear, and then it's your own mental health. Your whatever your ism is telling you that you shouldn't do this.
Right.
And we had this great conversation. I just had so much compassion at that moment, and it was a gift. It was an absolute gift because I got to say, I understand. Yeah. I understand because I have, I've experienced this myself through my friends. So I totally understand. And today I actually, it came up again, and I just said, how are you, how are you doing? And it's like, I'm not sleeping at all, blah, blah, blah. And I just said, well, I really appreciate you telling me that way because, if you're not sleeping and something comes out sideways, I know why, right? And I just said that. I said, thank you.
And
thank you for letting me know.
That is always so helpful. Like if you're with somebody and they're just like, hey, I'm in a rough mood today or blah, blah, blah kind of a thing. It's like that can set both people up for a better day, because maybe then the person will give you a little more rope that day,
Yes.
like, hey, I'm not gonna, I know he had like that. It's like, hey, he ain't sleeping. That's rough. That really affects you mentally. It affects your temper, your mood, all that kind of stuff. So it's like, maybe I'll let some things slide that I wouldn't normally, as long as they're reasonable, not, like they, punching you in the face or something, but you know what I mean? Like,
no, yeah. But when somebody has a history, it's very easy to keep that door open and be ready for escape. And that's how I felt last week.
Yeah.
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 Right? Yeah. I was talking about having that door open and being ready to escape. And the minute that conversation happened, it was like, I just closed the door.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Right.
And then what happened in the middle of the day is I got done with lunch and I was walking towards our tool room, and I heard him having the conversation with our other employees. Oh. And it's the two guys that really have taken the brunt of it a lot.
Oh, wow.
And I just, because I related to the one time where my coworker Omar looked at me and he said, "Hey, are you okay right now?" And I just said, "Oh, I just have some stuff going on, this and that, blah, blah." He's like, "Okay, I was just checking. I just want to make sure, that there wasn't anything going on here at work." And I share this all the time when I do safety meetings and communication, because it was a real eye opener that, I don't know what he's, he could be a little sensitive, or maybe not, or maybe I gave a dirty look, or maybe I've got a bit of an attitude, or I'm not being myself. And he just wants to know if everything's okay. 'Cause he worries about, obviously is worried about me, and wants to make sure that there's nothing that he's done.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's reasonable. We all are like that. And so I've related that story so many times. When he said that, I was like, oh wow, you know what? You're right. If I'm feeling a little surly when I get to work, it doesn't take much for me to just say, God, I got no sleep last night. I'm a little frazzled today.
Yeah. And I know, like a lot of us would avoid that because, you don't want to be that person that comes in every day or something.
And always, yeah.
Yeah, because nobody likes that either, but it's, but it does
soldiering
help.
on creates a certain thing.
Yeah.
Like there's this quiet determination that, and it doesn't seem to work. At least it hasn't in my experience.
Well, you think about it, like if you walk in, and I'm like, "Hey, Henno, how are you?" And I'm fine, and then you're just kind of surly to me. I'm going to go, did I do something, or is this guy just a jerk? Or,
exactly.
Hey, so.
Jax, don't be a jerk. Yeah. And it was so profound. And then, I related that story this morning, and then to see him go and have that conversation was really, it was really awesome. I mean, it's a lot of growth, and I know that it's difficult.
Yeah.
And it just is so much. I can't possibly know what somebody brings to, the communication table.
Yeah.
I can't. I do know that there has been very limited personal conversation about mental health.
Yeah.
The only time there's been conversation about it is when it was required.
Yeah.
And this was not required. This was volunteered, and it made such a big difference. And so the reason I wanted to bring it up as a topic, I tried to look it around a little bit online to see if there's something that kind of could tie into this, but I realized there's really not. It's more of just I don't know what it takes to what does it take to tell somebody else it's okay to talk to us?
Yeah.
It's, like it just made me think about, like, God, could I have said something before? But, I don't know. I think, it's like when a person's ready, they're ready.
Yeah. Well, and not to mention, that's a situation where, like you said, if he's doing this of his own free will, that's a huge step from his perspective too, because that's huge. That is just, I mean, you are literally, not only are you being vulnerable saying, here's how I'm feeling, but you're going, here is very personal information of mine that a lot of people don't want to actively share because they don't want, judgment or whatever it is
used
from it.
Used against you?
Yeah, used against you, exactly. So it's like he is really putting himself out there. So the fact that it was received the way it was with you, and which is awesome, and I'm assuming you're hoping that your coworkers received it similarly.
Everybody. Like, it was like this weight was relieved from everybody.
Yeah, right? Because it's like, oh, this guy is human. it's, he's, like, he's not just being a jerk. Like, he's got reasons that he's behaving how he is, at least, certain things or whatever. So it really helps. It's like, it's one of those things that's like, it's easier to show empathy for somebody when there's good communication. Because again, I went through this. If you go back and you listen to that episode of Salty Language where Tony and I talk about, like the stuff he had no clue about with me, I had no clue about where he was. And the reason was we didn't talk about it, which we always saw as a strength in our friendship, and realized that it was like, whoa, this was almost the undoing of our friendship, to some extent. So, it is. And that's why I try really hard now to just, here's exactly what's going on with me. Here's why I might be a little weird today or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
So, it's so helpful. And, I know we beat this into the ground about how important communication is, but it's really important in any aspect, whether it's work, personal life, whatever it is, so, like you said, it really doesn't take, what he did takes a lot of effort, because I'm sure he had to really psych himself up probably to do that. Cause like I said, that's putting yourself way, way, way out there. But like, if you're just a little surly or woke up on the wrong side of the bed or didn't sleep well, it really doesn't take a whole lot to just let your coworkers know, like, hey, if I'm a bear today, sorry, like even something along those lines. That's the way I like to do it. If you can, it's kind of try to be a little, funny about it, kind of a thing. Like, hey, I'm sorry if I'm a Debbie Downer today, but blah, 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 and just kind of lay it out there, and just, so maybe throughout the day, they'll give you the benefit of the doubt on that one, instead of maybe them coming at you, because, they receive what you're throwing at them, essentially. Attitude begets attitude, essentially. And, so, yeah, I'm so glad that, first of all, he did that. And, of course, I'm glad that it was received the way it was. Because, if any one of you would have not reacted well to it, this may have been the last time he ever does it.
Well, that's the whole thing, is I think about all the different ways that stigma comes to be.
Yeah.
It's all it takes is somebody with ulterior motives that wants to take you out.
Yeah.
And they're going to pounce on vulnerability. Or there's like lifetime stigmas of where we grew up, who our friends were, men don't show weakness, or, whatever that thing is from the male perspective, or it's from our parents, or
right.
It could be cultural, but all of these different things that can go in there and basically preordain how we're going to treat situations, and we don't know any other way.
Yeah.
And I think like that was the one thing that I was able to talk a little bit about breathing with him, because we talk about it so much on here.
Yeah.
And and it's such a big deal with anxiety, and we talk a lot about it with the COVID response and the masks and all this stuff, and feeling claustrophobic. And those all were they were topics that were relevant. And it really became so clear to me about how these ideas of like a panic attack, the thought of having a panic attack creates its own little panic attack. Like, I'm going to have a panic attack,
yes.
right? And we can all relate to that. And to be able to have this open communication on, like you said, on a simple topic. Like, I really want, what it is this podcast, we're trying to make these simple topics, right?
Right.
We're trying to take away the stigma and make these simple topics, simple things like today is a rough day. I'm feeling a little anxious. To be able to share that honestly, like that's honestly how you're feeling. And I did find this one communication thing real quick that said, strategies for good communication: get to the point, express feelings clearly with I statements, speak for yourself and not for others, focus on behaviors rather than on traits. And it just made me think about how simple those rules are. And it really is that simple. It's saying, this is how I feel. getting to the point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny though, because they are on paper simple,
exactly,
but staggeringly difficult to actually execute at times.
Absolutely,
Yeah. Even though, like you said, they seem so basic, even if all you need to convey is a very basic, like the I didn't get enough sleep. That all of us can understand what it's like to not get enough sleep, and oh yeah, I'd be grouchy if I only got 2 hours of sleep too. Like everybody knows what that's like, but it's still hard to say that because again, you're stepping into that vulnerable ground, even though everybody can understand that.
Well, I'll tell you, now that you said that, it's kind of how the conversation started. It was like I didn't get enough sleep, and then it went to, well, this is why.
Yeah.
And then it went to, this is what's going on, and it slowly progressed. And I think that may be a good way to, really to gauge whether the person that you're talking to is going to be a win for you or not, is to start with something simple and see if they react by those other rules that we hear about: active listening, repeating something back, relating to it.
That's a great point, because like with sleeping, like I said, everybody can understand that. So if you lay out there, hey, I didn't get enough sleep last night, and the other person just goes, yeah, and it's like, okay,
what else is new?
Door shut. Yeah.
What, you think you're special?
Yeah. Versus, oh man, it sucks when that happens, kind of a thing, or whatever. It's like, yeah, here we go. Or I suffered from insomnia for years, or whatever. So yeah, that is a good point. That actually that's a great tip, I would say, for somebody looking to maybe get into this area, is to slowly, just kind of lay a couple smaller things out there. So if you are going to feel at risk, like vulnerable kind of a thing, that at least if the person reacts negatively, it's not something like deep in your core, like that. If he started telling you about his mental health issues and you were just super cold about it, it's like, whoa, that's a severe punch to the, ego, everything, so that might be an easier way to help there.
What jumped into my head too are these ideas of like, okay, I'm supposed to be like a father, like I'm not supposed to show weakness to my kids.
Yeah.
Right. Or I'm the boss.
Right.
So I'm not supposed to, I have to have this certain role. We're not friends. It's not personal.
Right.
Or maybe in the case of where if someone's like a female boss, where, like there's this judgment of strength or weakness or whatever it is, these just BS perceptions that have been created.
Yeah.
And in the end, when they work out right, they fall apart. And to me, it's the paradox. It's strong. You're stronger. The relationship is strengthened. But it's so hard to get past those preconceived notions that we have for whatever societal or psychological.
Well, and especially when age, when you factor age into it too,
age thing,
because
yep.
like that just like calcifies it, like it's that core thing that's just been built and built and built, and eventually it's like it's a super strong thing to as far as like how do you break it down? And it's like, it takes a lot of work, sometimes to even make a minimal difference, but, it's worth doing because it really does. We're all stronger with a support system,
you know what? That's so true.
He's going to get way more, he's going to be way more effective as a leader having done this.
Well, yeah, that's that thing is he became a leader today.
Yeah, because it's no longer like I'm above you. And I'm not saying he had like a superiority thing, but literally he's the superior in that situation, Yeah. So it's, and then like you said, when you come at it from the, I can't show weakness, we're not friends, it's just business. When you do all that, that gives off kind of the air of I'm better than. And that even if you're not intending it to, it's just kind of the nature of the beast there.
It comes, yeah.
So this at least goes, hey, even though these things are still true, there is a gray area where we can meet sometimes. and in those areas, that's where we can bond as a workforce and whatever. But yeah, if the whip needs cracking, he's still got to crack the whip. That's his, that is his job.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And the one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up is it was such a win. I mean, it was.
Yeah, right. For everybody.
It's one of those experiences that I want other people to experience.
Right.
It's so many things in my recovery were like this, where you either took a chance or you were on the other side of somebody taking a chance, and this wonderful thing happened, and it came out of something that we all can understand is just these that are within us.
Yeah.
And can even be more, and can just be multiplied when we have these other conditions that tell us that, we're not worth it, or that, that you're going to be judged, or this is a bad idea. And it's that voice in the head going by for whatever, whether it's experience or just some, part of your disease, to basically give it the finger and say no.
Yeah.
Everyone has heard that communication is the best thing. We talk about it all the time. And to put it into practice and to have it work out, all of us, whether you've read self-help books or you listen to stuff, or it's such a common topic, but it can be so difficult, yet it can be so rewarding. And that's why it's like, I just want to encourage anyone listening that if there is a place in your life where there's there's maybe an issue with communicating, or you're holding things back, is open up a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe just start with a little, see how it goes. Start with a little bit of opening up, and maybe it'll help promote doing it more often. And that support, it's so true. Like, a whole support structure was created today.
Right.
In the last 2 days. I mean, hands down.
Or at least, if nothing else, it essentially rubbed a salve on maybe some of the streams and stuff. So
big deal. Yeah. And then the other thing that happened today was, for sure, 100%, we found out when our general manager is going to be leaving. And that also, it's funny how, like, you'd think that knowing that would create more anxiety, but it really didn't. It was more like, okay, now we know this is the schedule, and we know that somebody's on it, and we know that there's going to be a process put in place. And we also know that we came a little bit closer together as a team. And a lot of those fears that I had a week ago were relieved. And I'd love to be able to say that I would not have those, that I could relieve those fears on my own, but I'd rather not. I'd rather do it together. Like, for the most part at work, I've had to deal with my own fears and worries in a way that feels somewhat selfish.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I can get by my day. Other people are struggling right now, but I can get by. I can pick up my tools and do what I need to do to make sure I get through. But there's something about it that just doesn't feel quite right.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized why is because I prefer this.
Yeah.
I prefer everyone in it together.
Right. No one left behind, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that, especially in a workplace, and I think this is really true. This doesn't mean that we're all of a sudden it's all egalitarian and we're all the same. No,
Right.
We're not.
Yeah.
We still have our roles. We
Yep.
still have our job descriptions. We have the things that we have the experiences that we bring to the table. We are still individuals, but as a unit, we can break down some walls and and ultimately it helps everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does.
And to feel like somebody at the bottom isn't being pushed down, that they're being brought up all the time. Those are, to me, those are priceless. So yeah, it was
definitely.
Yeah, like I said, I said it several times. It was a gift. And I don't know what made it happen, but I'm happy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's all I got.
Awesome. All right.
I think it's a show.
Yep.
Well, that was awesome. And, you know, communication is so incredibly important. I mean, it goes so far deep. We can talk for hours on it.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of talking for hours, if you'd like to continue the conversation with us, we would love to hear from you. You know what to do. You can reach us at the crazylifepodcast.weebly.com is our website. The crazylifepodcast@outlook.com is our email address. If you'd like to talk to me direct, you're more than welcome to reach out to me on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life. That's Jen with a G. You can also hear more from me if you'd like to hear on Shake the Sheets, which is a pop culture talk podcast that I do with my co-host Nate. You can find that at shakethesheets.com. And Henno, if they would like to continue the conversation with you.
You can find me on Twitter at Ida Henno. Find me on Facebook, Facebook Messenger, Henno Heiter. And moving the needle, we're going to be releasing next week. We did a review of the movie Almost Famous, which just turned 20. And it turned into not what I expected. We had 2 guests on it who were both had experience in music industry. And like I first was like, how are we going to talk about this fluff piece? like I love Cameron Crowe, but I'm like, you know, it's not like a real in-depth and then it was so great. It was like these experiences started, you know, right off the bat, I was like, wow. And the next thing you know, we're just talking about all these experiences, like with when I was on tour and one of the other guests had been on tour and we were just talking about music and bringing in our real life experience. It was really fun. So I'm looking forward to releasing it next week. It'll be great.
Nice.
And we're going to have Brian on the show too. Woohoo.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yep.
And how can they reach you, Brian?
I'll make my triumphant return. No,
yes.
You can find me on Twitter at Stunami. You can find the other podcast I'm on, Salty Language, at salty_language or at saltylanguage.com. That show is not safe for work. And it's just me and my best friend yapping about just kind of whatever, you know, we talk about life and pop culture and just kind of whatever jumps in front of us. So yeah. Go check that out, please. And, you know, you can also find this show on Twitter at The Crazy Life Pod, where I post when new episodes go up. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/crazylifepodcast. And, what am I forgetting? Oh, we're part of the Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. So please go check out that site, and maybe you'll find some other podcasts that you dig. And then, you know, as always, I say, you know, well, we all say, you know, please, if you need help, please reach out. You know, or even if you're just dealing with something yourself, you know, good, you know, like Henno talked about on here, you know, you may be able to find people really close to you that have just been there the whole time, you know, willing to talk with you or just, you know, have your back if that's the case. But if you do feel like you need help, from a doctor, therapist, whatever, please reach out to someone. You know, there's tons of resources online if you want. We've got some over on our Facebook group, or if you reach out to one of us, we can try to help point you the right way. And then, you know, please be kind to others when you can. You know, we're all dealing with some weird stuff right now. Life's stressful for a lot of us. So, you know, please just try to be nice, be patient, and, you know, just sometimes just like I said earlier, you know, sometimes just appreciate the fact that things are just going to take the time they're going to take, that you can't speed them up because, you know, if you speed them up, things are less safe or this or that, you know, so just understand that, be patient with it sometimes. And, you know, as always, also please be safe and, all that other kind of stuff.
All right, everybody, go out there, have the best week you possibly can. Remember, spread the love, not the COVID. And don't forget to wiggle those toes.